I'm Dr. Chantelle Green here from MyoLab Health and Wellness, here to tell you the truth about foot pain. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Foot pain is no different than any other pain in the body. There's something going on that the body perceives to be wrong, and that's the perception of that is what you register as pain. It could be some inflammation or a structure that's irritated. It could be that you stepped on a sharp rock. But something activated the nerves in your foot and your brain goes, hey, that hurts. The problem with this is that when you actually Google foot pain, the first thing that's going to come up, and honestly the only thing that's going to come up, is plantar fasciitis. And then you're going to hear a story about your first cousin's fiance's dog who had plantar fasciitis, and you're going to assume that that's what you have as well. You're going to walk into your medical doctor's office and go, hey, I have plantar fasciitis, and they're going to say, great. Here's your ice pack, or here's your orthotic, or here's, your ibuprofen, go away. The reality is it's so much more complex than one structure on the bottom of your foot that can get inflamed. The first thing you need to do if you have foot pain is to stop ignoring your feet. Get your foot out of its shoe, honestly out of its sock, because your socks are a lot narrower than you think they are, and actually give your foot space to exist. We cram our feet into shoes all day long and we think that it's okay because when we're walking in the shoe, oh, it feels like a cloud. That's not really that helpful for your foot. When we cram our feet into shoes, what we're doing is cutting off our foot from its environment. The bottom of your foot has one of the highest densities of sensory neurons in your body, which means your feet are designed to feel the ground, to feel the environment. And when you stick that in a shoe, you cut that off. And all of a sudden your brain doesn't know what's going on with your feet. Okay, so being barefoot is not the most functional thing, especially in a Calgary winter. But the reality is that there's tons you can do to take care of your feet before and after you put a shoe on. There's shoes you can buy that are better for your feet than, something you might just pick up at the mall. The type of shoe is going to be specific to you. Somebody who's used to wearing a crazy platformed padded shoe can't transition directly into a minimalist barefoot shoe. Somebody who's built the foot strength and earned their way into a minimalist shoe is going to be better off with a zero drop wide toe box flexible shoe. This is Kevin. When we talk about the structures of the feet, we're looking at the bones and joints themselves, and you have an insanely high density and high number of joints and bones in your feet. And each of these joints is designed to move. When you stick a foot into a shoe, somehow these joints stop moving as much. One of the things that I want you to really notice is the similarities between the joints of your hand and the joints of your feet. You also have the similar layers of muscle in your foot as you do in your hand, which means that you have the opportunity to have the same dexterity with your toes as you do with your fingers. The reason you don't have that now is because you haven't been practicing using your toes for the entirety of your life. And when it comes to foot pain, any one of these structures, whether it's a joint or whether it's a muscle, could be the cause of your foot pain. It could be inflamed, it could be what's turning on the pain pathways up to your brain. So when you have foot pain, one of the first things you need to do is actually assess your foot and figure out where that pain might be coming from a functional standpoint. Two big ranges of motions we need to talk about, your ankle and your big toe. To take a look at your ankle mobility, put your foot a certain distance away from a wall and see if you can bend forward and touch the knee to the wall. Okay, big things here is that we're not coming in or out, we are going straight forward over our foot. Start backing your foot away and see how far you can move your foot away from the wall and still touch that knee to a wall. All right, so I'm about there. Measure the distance between your big toe and the wall. It needs to be at least 4 inches or 10 centimeters. One of the functional things you need to test in your foot is the range of motion in your big toe. All right, so the question becomes, can you actively lift that toe up? Okay, we ideally need at least 50, if not 70 degrees of motion, and I've seen studies that tell me that you need 90 degrees of motion in that big toe. Once you can do it actively, can you pick up the toe passively? How much motion do you have if I physically move my toe around? If that motion isn't there, your body's going to have to compensate, and that compensation is going to create pain patterns in the foot. Now that we've taken a look at some assessments for the foot, if you are a person who is failing that, if you're not getting your knee to the wall, or if you can't pick up your big toe, it's a great idea to see some sort of manual therapist who actually knows what's going on in the foot to get a deeper understanding of where your pain is coming from. That being said, we're going to go through 4 different exercises that are beneficial for everybody, no matter who you are. The first one is the equivalent of diaphragmatic breathing for the foot. It's a short foot exercise. We're going to look at your foot and you're going to think about 3 spots. Center of the heel, ball of the foot underneath the big toe, and ball of the foot underneath the 5th toe. You're going to plant those 3 spots on the floor as a stable tripod, and using only the muscles within the foot, not engaging your leg at all, you're going to draw those 3 spots together, lifting up the arch of the foot. The big thing here is you don't want to see your toes scrunching, curling, lifting. They should stay flat and relaxed as those 3 spots come together and that arch lifts. Once you can hold that short foot without your foot cramping, you're ready to move on to the next exercise, which is isolated toe movements or toe yoga. Hold that arch and practice moving the toes independently of each other. Pick up the 4 little toes and put them back down. Pick up the big toe and put it back down. Pick them all up, put down the big toe, put down the little toes. The more you do this, the more you're going to build strength in the intrinsic muscles of your feet. I mentioned earlier that there's things you can do before and after you put on shoes to take care of your feet. The biggest thing is foot love or holding hands with feet, depending on who you talk to. Lace your fingertips between your toes and start moving your foot through its ranges of motion. Up and down, and then twisting along this axis here. Once your foot is limber, I want you to relax it and imagine squeezing your toes together around your fingertips. Your fingers don't move, but your toes squeeze together, and you should feel the muscle activation right in here. If your feet are especially tight because you're the person who's wearing heels or even just a ton of running shoes, one of the things that's really beneficial is to roll out the muscles in the bottom of the feet. You're going to start by doing this with a lacrosse ball. The lacrosse ball, being a little bit bigger, is going to warm up the more superficial layers without getting too deep too fast. So primarily warming up the plantar fascia. You can vary the pressure and where the ball itself rolls based on how your foot feels. Once you've warmed up the foot with a lacrosse ball, do the same thing with a golf ball. Being a little bit smaller, we're going to get into the smaller structures of the foot, but you're basically going to do the same thing. Roll your foot along it, keep your toes relaxed, find the spot that's maybe a little bit tender, and then start moving your toes around to stretch out that spot. And then finally, if one of the things you're struggling with is activating the foot, maybe in your short foot, you can wake up the neurons in your feet with a textured surface or a textured ball. You're going to do that same rolling that we did with lacrosse ball, but we're going to go faster and we're going to go a little bit harder. What this is going to do is bring your brain's attention to your feet, remind your brain that your feet exist, and make it a little bit easier for you to engage those muscles. So at the end of the day, if you've gone through the assessments and you've done all the exercises and you're still experiencing foot pain, that's a good indication that it's time to bring in a professional. Thanks for watching this video. See you next time.